We're now moving on to talking about the hydrosphere. First way we're going to talk about this is talking about freshwater first. Freshwater, of course, doesn't have any salt. On this picture, we see many different things going on here. There's a reservoir, there's the watershed, the land, tributaries, the smaller going into a bigger here. River basin is a set of tributaries that move water into the same river. The name of the river is usually, the river basin is usually named after the river it flows into. A tributary, and you'll see a smaller one here, is a small stream that flows into a larger stream. Watershed, a lot of the properties of any freshwater is stuff that's brought to it from the land that it crosses. The watershed is a land area that drains to the same river. So all these watersheds are all draining into the same river. When it rains, it runs across these right straight into the river, and it goes all the way down. A reservoir is anything that holds water. All right, moving on down here. Now we have underground area where we have a river, a low point, those kind of areas. So an underground layer of rock or sediment that holds water, that is an aquifer. Anything is underground that holds water is an aquifer. Saturated zone is the area of the aquifer that is full of water. The area above the water table in the aquifer is called the unsaturated zone. Doesn't mean there's no water up there, but there's room for more water. If there's not a whole lot of water up there, there's room for more. We consider it unsaturated. So this would be the yellowish brown colored here or unsaturated zone. The part down below here is the saturated zone. The top of the saturated zone is referred to as the water table. And that's the depth you have to go down through land to find water, or it's the top of the saturated zone. Okay. How does drought affect the water table? If there's less rain, there's going to be less. So the river's going to be lower. The water table will go down. Table will be deeper. Goes down. This is what we talked before about if you're going to dig a well and this is your aquifer on a normal time, you would dig the well deep down into the saturated zone to ensure during drought times that you would still have water at your house. Okay. Thing I did not add on here. Potable water that is safe to drink. And that's by humans, of course. Animals have different abilities to do different things that we don't have. Okay, next picture, we have an estuary. The most famous estuary in North Carolina is way out by the Outer Banks. And the property of an estuary is at a place where the river flows into the ocean. On this picture, you see the river coming down this way. I think all rivers flow into the ocean some way or the other, or they try to. Rivers going into the ocean. The ocean's coming in this way. There's a collision here between the two. Where this collide is called an estuary. It's just an estuary. Slightly salty, a little less medium kind of salty, and very salty, and then the ocean's even the most salty. So this is the area in an estuary is claimed to have brackish water, where it's a mixture of salt water from the ocean and fresh water from a river. One interesting thing to know, if you think about an estuary, how important it is, the humans rely on estuaries for food, recreation, jobs, and coastal protection. Of the 32 largest cities in the world, 22 are located on estuaries. So estuaries have been important from the beginning, and they're great places to live as far as getting in and out of traffic from the ocean, from the rivers, but also growing and things that grow and live there that don't live anywhere else because that water is unique. Okay. Down here we have another cool drawing here. Aquaculture is using water to grow crops, food products, or anything you can make money getting out of the ocean, right? Whether it's seafood, whether it's seaweed, whether it's shells, whatever you're using. So the photic zone is the upper part of the ocean, and it's the part of the ocean where light from the sun can penetrate. Photic, photo means light. Okay, aphotic zone is the lower part of ocean where light does not penetrate. Okay. The process in which is necessary for the health of the ocean and necessary for aquaculture. Upwelling is when deep cold water rises to the surface, bringing nutrients from the deep ocean. This is upwelling. Don't care about your McAfee. Strange. Upwelling, deep cold ocean water rises towards the surface, bringing nutrients to the deep ocean. From the deep ocean up into this area where aquaculture takes place. Hooray. Upwelling brings dissolved oxygen and nutrients to the surface. Dissolved oxygen has to be there, so things that need oxygen, plants, other things can work, nutrients can grow. Okay. The water at the bottom of the ocean, the more salinity in the water, it's going to sink because it's more dense. Colder is going to sink. So down at the bottom of the ocean is the saltiest and coldest water of them all. It's very expensive and very difficult, almost impossible in certain times, to actually go to the bottom of the ocean to map the depth of it and what's happening down here. But we're able to use remote sensing, the sonar, LiDAR, radar, whatever it is, satellites, to figure out what the bottom of the ocean looks like and how deep it is and everything else. So that's called remote sensing. Remote sensing. Okay, here's some properties of water that you should be familiar with from labs we've done before. Polar compound. Water is a polar compound because it has hydrogen on one end, that's positive, and it has oxygen. The two hydrogens attached to the oxygen end is negative. So polar means it has two different ends, like we have a north and a south pole on the Earth, and they're different. Water is a universal solvent. Water can dissolve lots of different substances. Something that sticks to itself is cohesive. Other objects, adhesive. Surface tension is it makes a little bubble on top. Water striders can walk on it. Appears to climb up to the top of these trees because of capillary action.